Hello, this is Kristine Reynolds, and I'm back with another stamping tutorial using gelatos. This week, the design teams from Cornish Heritage Farms and Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft are teaming up for several days of blog hops, and I'm going to show you now how I created some of the elements of this card that I posted on my blog today. The supplies that I will be using are a 4 by 3.5 inch piece of white cardstock, and I'll be using guava, bubblegum, and red cherry gelatos, a mister with some water, or you can use a small bowl with some water that you can dip your fingers in. The stamp that I used for this project is a digital stamp from Cornish Heritage Farms. It's called Postage Stamp 16. I enlarged it to 2 by 2 inches, and then I cut it out with the Fiskars stamp-edged scissors so that I could get this cool postage stamp look to it. I'm also going to be using a heart-shaped doily for this project, and the reason why I included a doily is because today is also the first day of our bi-weekly challenge on the Cornish Heritage Farm blog, and the challenge this time is to use a doily on your project. So that's why I'm using a doily. I hope that you will go over to the website and check out the challenge and join us and use a doily as well. Alright, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how I did this back panel, which doesn't really show in the video as well as it does in person, but it's a very cool multi-dimensional kind of sparkly pinky rose background that I created for this card. And to do that, I got my paper, and it's not going to show too well on the white paper, so I'm going to lift the paper, and I'm actually going to use my craft mat, which is how I usually like to work with my gelatos, but I don't like it for videotaping because it kind of glares from the lights, but I'm going to go ahead and use it today. And I'm going to use my gelatos and just start by directly coloring them onto the paper. If you haven't worked with gelatos before, or you haven't seen my other videos, I'll just show these to you just in case. You can see they're a little larger than a chapstick, and other than that, they look a lot like a chapstick. They twist up and twist down, and they have like a wax-like substance inside, which is the gelato. This was the guava. The next color that I'm going to use is the bubblegum, which is a really cool hot pink color. I'm just going to scribble this on. There's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just throwing it on there. And the next color I'm going to use is cherry red. And I'm using quite a bit more red on this than the other colors, and the reason for that is that, as you saw, my card has a red card base, and so I want it to be a little more red than pink. And then I'm going to take my mister, and this is one of the cool things about the craft mat. I'm going to just spray a couple sprays right down on my craft mat so that I can use it to dip my fingers in. The gelato will blend on paper, but you have to press really hard, and it doesn't blend as well as I would like. Look at the difference. When I just put my finger in a little bit of water, you get a much nicer blend. Now I could spray the entire paper with my water and then spread it around, but obviously the water dilutes the gelatos and really dulls out the color, and I really want to keep a lot more of the bright color for this panel. So I'm going to just dip my finger in the water. And right now I'm just going in and trying to smear the guava around a little bit before my fingers get too full of the pink and the red so that the guava doesn't show up. Then I'm going to come in and do some pink and then come into the red. And there's no real technique. You kind of develop it on your own. I just sort of get the gelato wet, and so it starts moving. And then I can start moving it around. I'm sorry, I was probably blocking that with my hand. It's only my third or fourth video, so I'm not quite used to the camera placement and where to put things. And I just keep dipping my hand in there and rubbing things around. And that's pretty, the way it is, but I think I'd like a little more red in it. So the cool thing about gelatos is that you can just add more color when you want to. So I'm just going to add a little more red, get a little more definition in there. My guava got a little wiped out, so I'm going to add a little more of that. And just put a little more water on the table. And then come in and Just move that around a little. And as you can see, it creates a really cool background. And you can keep adding color until you get exactly the look you want. But I'm pretty happy with that. Nice thing is, a little wet wipe will clean up your area really well. And as you can see, that panel is all done. So I'm going to set that aside to finish drying. And the next piece that I'm going to do is the doily. And I'm going to go ahead and put the paper back down. Dry that with my sleeve. And for the doily, I'm going to use Guave. And I'm just going to rub the Guave all over the doily. And I'm just trying to get some color on there. And then I'm going to take the bubble gum and just come up around the edges so it's a little darker, get a little more definition around the edges. Now, if you've ever worked with doilies, you know that they're very porous and they tear easily. So rather than get it really wet, I'm just going to take my same wet wipe that I've been using to wipe things up, and I'm just going to come along and just dab my doily just to get the color on there. There's a couple spaces that are a little lighter than I'd like, so I can come back in. Oops, I want to use bubble gum. Sorry about that. Come back in with some bubble gum around the edges where it's a little lighter than I'd like. And then come back over it. And you can keep going over it until you get it the way you want it, but I just want a subtle look on there. So that's how I'm going to finish this one. And you can see how nicely that will contrast with the panel that we've already made. And the final step that I'm going to show you tonight is the Valentine postage stamp. And to do this, I'm going to use a little Guave. And I'm just going to come around the edges to help define this. Now you want to be careful because this is a digital stamp. Don't want to use any moisture on this at all. Want to know how I know? Here's the first one that I did. You can tell that that got pretty messed up. So you just want to spread this around with your fingers and just kind of rub it in there until you get just a soft look. And then that'll go on here, and of course you'll color the rows, and what you'll end up with is this beautiful Valentine's Day card. And I just simply layered all the pieces that I made, the main panel, the doily, and the finished postage stamp, and I got some pattern paper and wrapped it with a ribbon on a red cardstock. And that is how I made today's card. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Check back with me again. I hope to continue to add more tutorials to my channel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.